I had a baby less than a year ago, and I've been having a hard time losing the extra 50 pounds that would make me skinny and confident again. My partner doesn't cheat. He doesn't call me names. He doesn't argue with me. He doesn't go out with his boys. He doesn't do anything on his phone I need to worry about, but what people don't talk about is that's not enough. All the right things, but without love, just isn't enough. Lately, I've been feeling like his PlayStation and his phone are more interesting than his family. But even before he started religiously playing, I feel like it was always something that was more enjoyable to him than me or us. When he's not playing video games, he's on his phone researching his video games and watching YouTube videos of people playing them. I'm a stay-at-home mom who also works full-time for my home computer. In addition, I cook. I clean. I get up for crack of dawn feedings because he has to get up at the same time to get ready for work, and I adapted. I'm okay doing all of these things for our family. But what hurts is when I want to go out for a day with him and the baby. Shopping or outlets or just a long day out. It's like he needs a bribe. Sha, I'll go if I can go get an edible. I'll go, but for uninterrupted game, playtime after. Never just, yeah, babe, let's go. Never just because he wants to. Because he enjoys us and making memories for us. After a few days in a row of spending the evening and night playing games, he'll suggest we watch a show because he can see, and I'm getting upset and lonely, but he'll last 45 minutes before falling asleep at 9:30 p.m. And when he hears me turn the show off, he is suddenly awake and gets up and says he's gonna go play a little, which can easily turn into playing until 3 a.m. It just makes me feel like he doesn't enjoy me, us. Sometimes if it's early enough, when we start watching something, I can just see him messaging his PlayStation group, counting down the time for me to go to sleep so he can play. I just feel so boring and uninteresting. Maybe it won't sound like such a big deal to people, but this has been going on for well over a year. I'm lonely. I don't feel loved or like my company is enjoyed. I've gotten to the point where I fantasize a different relationship. And at this point, I'm starting to feel like the motivation that I just got to lose this postpartum weight is thinking about how confident I'll be again. Because he takes that from me by making me feel like a chore. I fantasize being skinny again and confident and flirting and having long conversations with someone who is interested. Nighttime drives with endless laughing. Cuddling up to watch our favorite show with nothing else on the schedule. I'm just lonely in a full house, and I want out. Yes, I've brought this up several times over the last 2 years. I just get told, here we go. And I know he doesn't read my paragraphs. Update. This isn't really an update on what I'm going to do, but more an example of how the day is going. He came home from work, the baby took a nap, so he jumped on video games. I cleaned up and went to lay alone in the bedroom. Almost 2 hours later, he came in to say the baby is waking up and to ask what I want to eat. He threw some suggestions, all basic convo. He left to pick it up. He came back and went to eat at the counter on his phone, and I played with the baby while eating my food in the living room. He finished and came to the couch and stayed on his phone while I played with the baby. He took the baby for a little and put on a show for us to watch. I took the baby back. He fell asleep. He kept waking up abruptly and finally just set an alarm on his phone and said he's going to go close his eyes for 30 minutes in bed. And here I am, playing with the baby after spending the entire day playing with the baby. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. My partner doesn't cheat. He doesn't call me names. He doesn't argue with me. He doesn't go out with his friends. He doesn't do anything on his phone that I need to worry about. But what people don't talk about is that that's not enough. What people actually don't talk about is that that's the bare minimum. These things shouldn't even have to be listed out. They should be a given. What you're describing is a neglectful relationship with a person who doesn't even act like he likes you. Of course, you're not wrong for wanting to exit such a relationship. The weight is irrelevant. What really matters is that you're deeply unhappy, and that is more than enough reason to leave. He is cheating on you. It's just with his electronics. Comment 2, discuss your feelings with him. Suggest couples counseling. Give it a bit of time if you're doing the above and see how that goes. All the while, still work on yourself. Leave him if he doesn't get his act together or if he gets his act together for a few months. Then goes back to what he's doing. Also, I don't want to judge you for having a baby with this man. But I do want to advise you that you have to be careful with your vetting process if you do decide to leave him. Otherwise, you'll end up with another one. It's just a different face. Now for the update. Thanks for sticking around. A lot has happened since my last post. So, the other day, I decided to confront him again. I told him how I felt invisible, how I craved his attention and affection. He just shrugged and said he'd try harder, but his eyes were glued to his phone screen the whole time. It was like talking to a wall. Then, yesterday, I found out he'd been lying to me. He wasn't just researching video games on his phone, he was chatting with someone from his gaming group. A woman. They were planning to meet up at a gaming convention next month. I felt sick to my stomach. It wasn't the cheating I'd always feared, but it was a betrayal all the same. I confronted him about it, and he got defensive, saying it was nothing, just a friend. But I saw the messages, the flirty emojis, the late-night chats. It was more than just a friendship. I felt so stupid, so ashamed that I hadn't seen it sooner. I told him I needed space, that I couldn't be in the same house with him right now. He didn't argue, didn't even seem upset. He just packed a bag and left to stay with a friend. I watched him go, feeling a mix of relief and heartbreak. Now it's just me and the baby. I've been trying to keep busy to not think about him or the weight of his absence. But it's hard. The house feels so empty without him. Even though he was never really present when he was here, I've been talking to a friend about it, someone who's been through a similar situation. She's been a lifeline, offering support and advice. She told me to focus on myself, on my baby, to find happiness in the little things. It's easier said than done, but I'm trying. Today I took the baby out for a walk, just to get out of the house. It was nice, peaceful. I felt a little lighter, a little less burdened by everything. But then I came home, and the silence hit me all over again. I've been thinking about what to do next, about whether there's any point in trying to salvage our relationship. I don't know if I can trust him again, if I can ever feel the same way about him. And I don't know if I want to. For now, I'm just taking it one day at a time, trying to find my way through this mess. It's not easy, but I'm doing my best for my baby, for myself. That's all I can do. Thanks for reading. Aita for considering divorce. After discovering my wife is secretly messaging her abusive ex, sorry, this is going to be so long. I just want to get as many details in as possible for some real advice. A little backstory. My wife had a significant handful of traumas as a kid. Her dad was physically and verbally hurtful, and almost ended the life of her mom in front of her. She was left to raise herself and her younger brother because her mom was an alcoholic. She had undiagnosed bipolar disorder starting at 13, was raped at 14, and got pregnant and had a baby unaliving at 16. After that, she kind of spiraled and was drinking a lot and sleeping around a lot. That's when she met the man we'll call John. He was 30 when she was 16. He introduced her to his messed up version of BDSM, which was basically just beating her whenever he felt like it. She thought she was in love with him and followed him blindly for years. I guess he did help her to quit drinking and graduate high school, but I'm assuming it was through fear. She hasn't shared how he helped. It took her going to therapy when she was 23 for her trauma with her dad to realize John was a groomer, and another year or two until she finally cut him off completely. We met when she was 26, married 2 years later. We bought a house right away and have 2 kids, 4 male and 2 female. She had shared some about her relationship with John before we got married, but more has come up this month that I didn't know after she asked me to go to therapy with her, so she could tell me she cheated on me with John. Therapy now started maybe 8 months ago because she's had bad postpartum depression since 2 female was born. So the story is she ran into him while grabbing drinks at a bar with a friend. They didn't hook up then, but started talking occasionally. A couple of weeks later, they met up for drinks at this catch-all spot, for lack of a better term, in a downtown area where my wife usually goes to small concerts. It's a parking structure concert hall / restaurant / bar / hotel kind of deal. They had a couple of drinks, he invited her up to his room, and you can fill in the rest. This happened in February. She told her therapist after it happened, and they've been working on cutting whatever emotional ties she has left. He's blocked now, but she saved all their messages at her therapist's suggestion. She did a full STD panel last month and came back clean. She's taken all the right steps. I read all the messages even though I didn't want to. Got tested myself even though she was fine. She offered to set up some family tracking app thing, so I know where she is, but I feel like if I need that, then my marriage is over. I've been involved in her therapy twice now, but I feel broken. I admit I've gotten snippy with her, but instead of calling me out like she normally would, she just apologizes. It feels like she thinks twice about everything she says now. We don't joke with each other. Caring for the kids as partners feels mechanical. Is this how life will be now if we stay together? I don't want to break up our family. Is it possible to forgive someone for cheating? Do I need to be more understanding because of the previous relationship, or should I be more worried about the future? Edit. This post blew up far beyond what I expected, so I'd just like to thank almost everyone for their input. I really appreciated hearing views from multiple angles, and have even more to consider than I originally thought, but also have the start of a plan moving forward for myself, beginning with finding a therapist, possibly a lawyer. This has been overwhelming, so I won't be responding to any more comments. It's time to focus on the real world. I may post an update in the future, but due to some of the trash that found its way into my messages, that's not very likely. Again, thanks to everyone who gave genuine advice or opinions. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Grooming is really weird. I was groomed in rap by my high school teacher, and it's been very difficult for me to get over that. I saw him from a distance 10 years later, and it was like I was instantly back in high school emotionally. I felt scared and small and almost had a panic attack. I think your body and mind automatically fall into old patterns when you meet the groomer again. That being said, you still have some amount of control. For example, I was able to stop myself from having a panic attack and was able to continue with my day. Your wife was still in a really difficult situation, but she still made a choice. Comment 2. You know that all the things you're feeling are valid, right? You've been ultra deliberate in trying to be understanding, but regardless of trauma or abuse, that does not give people a free pass to harm us. It's okay for you to feel hurt, violated, and betrayed because you were. Whether you stay or not is ultimately up to you. Having to track a partner's whereabouts to ensure they're not cheating isn't a win. Now, for the update. Thanks for all the comments from last time. They really helped me sort through some stuff. So, things have been pretty intense around here. Just when I thought we might be finding some kind of normal, my wife dropped a bomb on me. She's been acting weird, and I couldn't figure out why. Turns out, she's been secretly meeting with John again. Not in person, but through some anonymous app. She says it's not cheating because they're not physical, but come on, it's definitely something. I found out because I saw a notification pop up on her phone when she was in the shower. I wasn't snooping, I swear, but it was right there. The message was from some username I didn't recognize, but the way it was worded, I just knew it was him. I confronted her about it, and she broke down, saying she felt like she needed closure or something. I don't get it. She's been to therapy, she's blocked him, why go back? It's like she's got this hold on her that she can't shake. I've been trying to be understanding because of her past, but it's hard. I feel like I'm competing with a ghost. And it's not just affecting me. The kids can sense something's off. My son keeps asking why mommy's sad all the time, and I don't know what to tell him. Then, 2 days ago, she told me she's thinking about leaving. Not for John, she says, but because she feels like she's ruining our family. She thinks the kids and I would be better off without her. That hit me like a ton of bricks. I don't want to lose her, but I also don't know if I can keep going like this. I've been trying to hold it together for the kids, but it's tough. I've started looking for a therapist for myself because I need to talk to someone who's not involved. I've also been talking to a lawyer just in case. I hate that it's come to this, but I need to protect my kids and myself. I'm not sure what the future holds for us. I want to believe we can get past this, but every new revelation makes it harder. I'm just so tired of all the secrets and lies. I need to figure out what's best for me and the kids, even if that means making some tough decisions. Thanks for reading. I'll try to keep you posted on what happens next. Aita for expecting my husband to change diapers and not just dismiss my feelings. Last night, my husband made nachos and they were in the oven. He was standing there watching me clean our twins from dinner, and one of them pooped. He usually comes to help me, but he was just standing there watching me. So I said, "She pooped, can you come change her?" He just looked at me, so I said, "Or you could finish wiping him up." He threw his arms up and said, "What do you want me to do?" "I don't want to burn the nachos." So I told him to just clean up our boy. I came out of the nursery smiling and told him thank you for cleaning him. And he said, "Well, that's better." I asked what he meant, and he said I gave him a mean face. I laughed it off at first, thinking he was joking. Then he said, "Yeah, you had a mean face on." So I said, "Well, I was cleaning the babies, and you weren't coming to help me like you usually do." I didn't mean to make that face. I was overwhelmed. He then rolled his eyes and shook his head, so I asked why he did that, and he just said he didn't. This part is 100% my fault. I have a past of being manipulated, and him saying that put me right back in that headspace. I tried to keep it together and told him that I saw him roll his eyes. He said sorry in a sarcastic tone and didn't look at me. My alarm bells for manipulation went off again, and I was losing my grip on controlling my emotions. I started pacing and had to walk away a few times to keep calm. I then said, "Don't you see how I could take that as an insincere apology?" He said no, and I asked him to put himself in my shoes. He still said his apology was sincere, and he doesn't agree with my perspective. I told him I don't need him to agree, just see where I'm coming from and validate my feelings. I want to add that we have had issues where I asked him to see my point of view, and he just doesn't when he's done something that hurts my feelings. So, to continue, he then said it was all a joke, and I made it worse by starting to list all the things I do wrong. I then told him I felt unloved because when there's an issue, all I'm asking for over and over is for him to see my point of view. I try to see his, and I do my best to be accountable for my actions. I just want the same consideration from him. I honestly feel like there's something underlying his reaction to my face and my asking him why he rolled his eyes. It's such a big fight over something so stupid. I want to make things better, but he won't talk to me about what's going on. He said he thinks I think he's a bad dad, but I constantly tell him how wonderful he is in detail. He comes home and helps with them. They light up when he walks in. He's so involved, and I do my best to show him appreciation. Update. Thank you to everyone who pointed out that I was being unreasonable and couldn't let it go. I was overwhelmed with screaming babies and had a plan to make it better. And I wasn't doing for him what I was asking him to do for me. We made up and are going to look for a counselor to help us learn to communicate better so we can be our best for our babies. We live hours away from both of our families, and we don't have much help with the babies. We definitely need a night to ourselves to reconnect. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. LOL. This sounds like normal relationship stuff to me. Co-parenting kids is tough. Co-parenting 2 is twice as tough. Relax, don't go all DEFCON 4 over minor things. You aren't always going to get along. You aren't always going to react perfectly. You aren't always going to meet each other's needs every single minute of every single day. And you sure as heck aren't going to agree on who is right and who is wrong when stuff like this happens. Just remember that you are both human. Love each other and forgive mistakes quickly. Comment 2. If this is a recurring theme with you two, then get some couples counseling. Your husband was busy making food. There was no emergency. I don't know why you needed help in that moment, to be honest. Then you got snotty with him, and you think he needs to apologize to you because you were so overwhelmed. And now he's not apologizing, right? And every attempt he makes to de-escalate the situation is met with you ramping it up further. Come on, lady. You seem more interested in winning than conflict resolution. Now, for the update, thanks for sticking with me through this. A lot has happened since the last post. So, we decided to take that much-needed night to ourselves, right? We got a local teenager to babysit, someone my husband knew from his coaching days. Big mistake. We came back to a house that looked like a hurricane had hit it. The babysitter had invited friends over, and one of them had taken my grandmother's ring. I was livid. My husband was trying to calm me down, but I could see he was just as upset. That ring was the last thing I had of her, and it meant the world to me. We confronted the babysitter, who of course denied everything. Her parents got involved, and it turned into this huge mess. My husband, he's usually the level-headed one, but he was ready to call the police. I was torn because I knew that could escalate things, but I also wanted my ring back. In the end, we did file a report, but I felt like we were just throwing more fuel on the fire. Then, a week later, the ring shows up in our mailbox. No note, nothing. Just the ring sitting there. Relief washed over me, but the trust was broken. I couldn't shake the feeling of being violated, and my husband, he felt like he'd let us down by trusting the wrong person. It was a rough patch, to say the least, but we had to move on for the twins' sake. We started counseling like we planned. It was going well until my husband lost his job. The company was downsizing, and just like that, we were down to one income. The timing couldn't have been worse. We had just started to rebuild after the babysitter incident, and now this. I could see the shame in his eyes, even though he tried to hide it. He started picking up odd jobs, but it wasn't enough. We were dipping into our savings, and I could tell it was eating him up inside. I was doing my best to keep things together, but the stress was getting to me too. Then, out of nowhere, my old boss called. She had a job offer for me, a good one. It would mean I'd be the primary breadwinner, and my husband would stay home with the kids. It was a complete role reversal, and I could tell it was a blow to his ego, but we didn't have much of a choice. I took the job, and it was going well, but at home, things were tense. My husband was an amazing dad, but he was struggling with not being the one providing, and I was struggling with the guilt of being away from the twins and the new dynamic at home. One day, I came home early to find him on the floor, building a fort with the twins. They were all laughing, and in that moment, I saw what I had been missing. I realized that while I was out there working, he was here, giving our kids something I couldn't, his time. We had a long talk that night. It was hard, but we laid everything out on the table. The resentment, the guilt, the fear. We both had to let go of our pride and accept our new reality. It wasn't easy, but it was necessary. We're still adjusting, but things are looking up. The twins are happy, and we're finding our balance. It's not the life we planned, but it's ours, and we're making it work. Thanks for reading. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.